Rodangonzi on sign language, Mugalu Mohammed. Let's start with the top stories. Maggie. African anti-graft heads meet in Kampala. Analysts disagree with opinion pollsters. Holy month of Ramadan has started, while Chabazinga on the spot on marijuana growing. And on the international scene, Moscow plane crash lands, killing 41. We start with the 9th Regional Conference for Heads of Anti-Corruption Agencies in Africa, which has been opened today at Lake Victoria Serena Resort in Chico. The 5-day conference, opened by President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, will be running under the theme Time to Act, Prevent Corruption for Sustainable Development. President urged leaders of anti-corruption agencies in Africa to deeply involve victims of corruption in the fight against the vice. Samuel Senano reports.
Corruption, the curse, comfort and celebration you bring to the few but strong, but pain and misery you inflict on the many but weak and the voiceless. Oh no! Corruption, the curse.
This poem by the young girls and boys of Nakasero Primary School set the tone for this regional conference, attended by heads of anti-corruption agencies in Africa. These anti-graft heads from Commonwealth African states will be looking forward to use this 5-day conference to find solutions that will rid the continent of this cancer. Criticized for being toothless and just a barking dog, Uganda's Inspector General of Government and host Irene Muryagonja informed delegates that the body she heads is to put in place more networks for citizens to join the fight against what she termed as syndicated dimensions of corruption.
We are stepping up on asset recovery of stolen funds through the Asset Recovery Unit, which was established in 2017. We also plan to engage citizens more in the fight against corruption by creating more networks for them to demand for accountability in the delivery of services.
With Africa said to be losing close to $140 billion annually to corruption, Patricia Scotland, the Commonwealth Secretary General, highlighted that this meeting is part of their efforts to institutionalize the fight against corruption with the aim of achieving Sustainable Development Goal 16.
So tackling corruption has to be the priority of the highest order if we are in earnest about achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, and we are. That is why SDG 16 incorporates specific targets relating to reduction of corruption, bribery, and illicit financial flows. And the IMF has made clear that success of all other SDGs depends crucially on getting to grips with the corrosive cancer of corruption.
On his part, President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni pointed out that there is need to empower individuals to expose the corrupt as opposed to succumbing to their whims. He asserted that the corrupt cannot sustain their rooted prosperity amidst a sea of poor masses, as resistance will certainly emerge, particularly from the youth.
They have nothing to gain from the corruption. It is them who have got everything to lose, because they are not part of the structure to benefit from any corruption. No. For them, they are automatic losers. So therefore, if you are looking for a strategy of anti-corruption, it is the victims that can help you to fight the corruption better. Because for them, they are victims. There is nothing, even if they were selfish, they have nothing to gain from the corruption.
Museveni contends that for Africa to stamp out corruption, there is need to equip and strengthen the critical manpower who will investigate the corrupt.
If you don't have political blackmail, because in some cases the corrupt are so strong, you touch them, they can do a lot of damage. They are untouchable. Now, in the case of Uganda, there is nobody who is untouchable. But also, you shouldn't overuse that and say because we are strong, we have got strong institutions. Therefore, I will sack people without facts. That's why, therefore, it becomes very crucial to have good investigators who get the facts, and you confront these people openly in the court. The facts are there.
He also defended his move of creating anti-graft agencies within State House, stating that they hope in checks and balances. At the event, the president also launched a book titled Tackling Corruption in Commonwealth Africa. Samuel Senono, UBC News.
A section of political analysts have poked holes in the recent research on perceptions of Ugandans towards socio-economic and political issues in the country. The study done by Research World International suggests that only 38% of Ugandans believe President Museveni should contest in the next elections. However, renowned political and research analyst Morrison Rwakakamba disagrees, saying the research was concentrated in central Uganda, questioning its credibility.
If elections were to be held in April 2019, 50% members of parliament would not bounce back to the House. Legislators from central and eastern Uganda would be affected more. A study by Research World International discloses that 28% of Ugandans believe that presidential age limit amendment was good, while 65% think otherwise.
This is the first survey to indicate this. I think nobody has done this kind of survey to find out what about the public. The MPs voted, the judges passed it, but what about the public? And look at the level of resistance to age limit. It is higher amongst the combined opposition than it is within the NRM. But what is very critical there is that actually, even within NRM, about 43% believe that that was an error of thought.
The research that was conducted randomly in 60 districts of Uganda also shows an almost equal opinion on whether opposition should field a joint candidate. Here, Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, also known as Bobi Wine, is seen to be the most preferred opposition candidate with 42% against his possible challengers Kizza Besigye and Norbert Mao.
These are what I told you. These results are shocking, but again, that's the perception that was out there. And you have 24, 42, you have these ones who say we haven't made up our minds, and there are those who say, please leave me, I don't have any comment on that.
Whereas opinion polls always draw divergent views, they are good when estimating reality. But for a study indicating that 60% of Ugandans think the country is moving the wrong direction, to what extent is it credible?
Many people do not agree with the findings that contradict their beliefs. You cannot believe me, I am a creature of research. People may not like my opinions. I hold many biases. Each time I put numbers into a computer and I get a different result and I feel my opinion, my strongly held faith has been challenged by the facts. I put my emotions aside, I yield to the facts.
For similar reasons, Morrison Rwakakamba disagrees with the study scope. About 2,042 people were sampled from 2,004 sub-counties across the country. Yet out of these, about 39% were from central Uganda. This is one of the questions that were posed and answered at the same time.
38% of the polled respondents are from the central region, 23 from the west, 22 from the east, and 19% from the north. So you see oversampling of central region by over 10%. And you see undersampling of other regions by around 6%. And this is over and above the plus or minus margin of error. So whether this gives us the 95%, I haven't gone into calculating the p-values, but he mentioned the 0.05%. But once you have this oversampling of one region and undersampling. It brings out undertones.
In fact, in the research study, there is a section of President Museveni's possible replacements. This has raised questions as to why people who have never expressed interest in the presidency were named.
For us, we asked people who, in your view, should Mr. Museveni choose to retire, who do you think is capable of replacing him? And people gave names, and those are the names that you saw. I think the first name was Honorable Kadaga, and then you had the Prime Minister, and then you have Mr. Museveni's son, and in that order, as you saw in the report.
Adults of 18 years and above were interviewed between 12th and 25th April 2019 to establish Ugandans' perceptions towards socio-economic and political issues in the country. Among other discoveries was that of a likely increase on the voter turnout by 5% in 2021. How this poll will turn out, only time will tell as the country heads towards general elections in 2021. Henry Okurut, UBC.
President Museveni has given Our Lady of Fatima Catholic Church in Dokolo District 75 million shillings to finish the construction of the new chapel, whose construction works were at a standstill due to shortage of funds. The President delivered the bulk cash to area MP Honorable Paul Amora.
Residents of Dokolo District, Agwata Parish, are excited about the presidential pledge fulfillment to help in the construction and completion of Our Lady of Fatima Church. The 75 million shillings hard cash delivery by the Dokolo Member of Parliament, Paul Amoru, on the President's behalf was welcomed by church women.
So, generation after generation, so many generations will know that in the history of this place, President Yoweri Kaguta contributed a lot in completing the church, the house of God.
But now, for the last 8 years, this church has been stuck. It's by the roadside. The Christians have sold their goats, have sold their grains, their produce, but they could not go very far.
It's not, I cannot say it is much or it's little. We are going to see the work on the ground, but we shall monitor it properly, and everything we are buying, we have to negotiate, and we buy at a good rate, if need be, or from the source or from the factory, at a good rate.
The new facility that requires finishing is estimated to accommodate about 1,000 people.
Which means Sunday service will be twice, first and second service.
This will relieve the old church from competition for space.
My mother was born in 1934, that is the year in which the church was built. Many people have not been able to pray effectively. It holds about 60-70 people well seated only. So the rest, when they come, when it is raining, they are not able to come and pray. You see, we have been looking ahead to a place like this.
As they praised the Lord for the money received, the sound and collectiveness of their voices caught my attention. Here I took a closer look to this energetic and focused woman producing sound out of her musical instrument, making melodies even more interesting. Good things end interesting, and that's all I have for now in Dokolo District. Ivan Kahwa, UBC News.
Have been urged not to spare any many efforts in developing students' talents and supporting their pursuit for excellence in performance arts, because they also get an opportunity to widen their horizon. While launching the National Music, Dance and Drama Festival 2019 at Chitante Hills Secondary School, the Undersecretary, Ministry of Education and Sports, Agri Chibenge, said the lower secondary school curriculum under review considers imparting both knowledge and values.
Music, dance and drama, looked at as entertainment, is also an ingredient to teach values, skills and attitudes that will transform lives of the young people. The head teacher, Kitante Hill Secondary School, Elizabeth Onen, says MDD also creates awareness, inculcates creativity and critical thinking, especially in this era of social media that drains the youth. This year's Music, Dance and Drama festivals have been organized under the theme Vision 2040, harnessing young people's potential for socio-economic transformation. While launching the festivals, the Undersecretary, Ministry of Education and Sports, Agri Chibenge, said MDD is learning to do and to be, which schools should also pay attention to than grades.
This opening day is an excellent testimony of the policy of the government to foster the development of a vibrant school sector which recognizes diversity and talent development in our education system. We all know the world has dramatically changed. Performing arts are a respected form of life.
The sub-themes of the competitions focus on violence against children, sexuality education, menstrual health and drug abuse. The Chairman, Technical Committee, National Organizing Committee, MDD, Dr. Francis Kayanja, says the main objective this year is to popularize Vision 2040 through MDD, promote talent and life skills, plus ensuring that cultures grow at the same pace.
Is popularize Vision 2040 through MDD so as to promote retention, performance, and successful completion of education and skilling of Uganda's young people.
Mass action against malaria is among the objectives of the MDD festival, with the aim of having malaria-free schools. This looks at everyone, starting from the head teachers, students and parents, taking on their responsibility in preventing the disease.
Having known that actually when you suffer from malaria, daddy or mommy spends a lot of money to take you to school. The younger sister can't go to school. So now we are taking this to the students.
These messages are to come out through plays, poems, creative dances, and traditional folk songs, traditional dances with original composition and saint pieces. The launch has followed training of schools and then inter-house competitions at school level in June, district competitions, regional festivals and East African Festival, which will climax with national competitions in Fort Portal. I'm Nafka Farida and Daniel Mogoya reporting.
Muslims have this Monday, 6th, 2019, started fasting, that's in the holy month of Ramadan, which lasts for either 29 or 30 days. Uganda Muslim Supreme Council has urged Muslims to observe this holy month in accordance with the teachings of Islam.
This Monday, the 6th of May 2019, is when Muslims have started observing the whole month of Ramadan, which is the fourth pillar of Islam. Uganda Muslim Supreme Council has urged Muslims to follow the teachings of Islam while fasting. But how should Muslims conduct themselves during this month of Ramadan?
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that verse says that all you believers, fasting has been instructed upon you as it was instructed those who came before you, so that you can fear. Fearing is not just run away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but fearing means that you do what you are supposed to do, what was directed by Allah, and you abstain from whichever was rejected by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have to be kind, give charity, recite a lot of Quran, attend these Salat Tarawih in addition to the daily Salah we are having every day. We have to be kind. We shouldn't pick up quarrels. Even though someone provokes you, you tell him that I'm fasting. So this month is the month of Rahmah, the month of peace.
Some of the Muslims concede that there is a way in which fasting brings them nearer to Allah by appreciating the meaning of creation.
Even when someone annoys you, you have to keep constantly saying, like the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, tells us that you should tell that person who annoys you that I am fasting, I am fasting. But also that sense of humility, to appreciate that there are people who go through, a whole day without having any single meal. At times you really want to reflect about yourself in such a situation. And I think for me that's a deep appreciation that comes with fasting.
So I feel I'm someone different. I don't feel the same way I used to feel when I've not fasted. So when I fast, I feel someone different. I feel my body has changed. I feel all my brain has changed.
However, the business community has been asked not to hike the prices of some items, especially fruits.
Apart from the obligation we are fulfilling from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we don't have any special finances from anywhere, any special funds. So don't overcharge us, be kind to us, and also let us behave well to you.
Muslims observe fasting every year for a period of either 29 or 30 days. Adiana Kute, UBC.
United Nations Women Regional Director Isadora Derek Briggs has called for more involvement of grassroots women in regional peace and security. During the UN Women Peace and Security Conference in Kampala, UN women decried being sidelined during peace and security processes as compared to their male counterparts.
Violence, conflict and war have continued to have differential and devastating consequences on women and girls, especially in most African countries. Despite the fact that women's participation in peace processes contribute to longer and more resilient peace after conflict, UN women still decry continued exclusion from peace processes and negotiations.
Anytime there's a struggle, women are usually part of that struggle. If you look at any conflict in Africa, you would see that women have played critical roles. Just recently in Sudan. So the challenge is, after women have played those roles together with the men in the struggle or in trying to stop a fight or a conflict, when it comes to deciding how the country moves forward, they forget the women.
Citing the Betty Bigombe involvement in the northern Uganda LRA war, Isadora called for the urgent need to address women's participation in peace and security discussions, especially on high-profile dialogues.
System coming in, then you have stones being thrown at the women, and then you hear things like, oh, she's not qualified, how did she get there, who is she sleeping with? You hear all those kinds of things. And those things, many of the times they are not true, but it's just to get the woman to say, do I need this? Why can't I just go and sit in my home in peace? Then that's how women now backtrack.
Liberian ambassador to Uganda Thelma Awor calls for change of policies, prioritization of policy resolution that increase women's participation in leadership and humanitarian response.
Cruelty and bestiality that women experience need to be demonstrated, because people are normally not convinced that, oh, this is happening to women. The other big challenge is to make sure that policies are in place that give us the right for protection.
Swedish ambassador to Uganda, Per Lingade, says appreciating the role of women in peace building should be the first step in creation of space for women.
We have to put more emphasis on the role of women in peace processes. And because there is a clear correlation between the involvement of women in peace processes.
The UN Women Conference is focused on bringing women together, especially those in post-conflict countries, to pave way forward for a right cause. Susan Naonga reporting.
Stakeholders in the East African region are meeting in Kampala to forge ways of overcoming traffic jam in their countries. Now, the need for physical planning and methods for traffic management were identified as eminent.
The increasing traffic jam in most city centers has compelled stakeholders in the East African region to forge ways of overcoming this challenge. The need of using eco-friendly systems and introduction of other means of transport was identified as key.
So we want cities, or would advise cities, especially the developing countries' cities, to have integrated designs or inclusive designs that will encourage people to use more eco-friendly or people-friendly modes of transportation like walking and cycling, plus public transport like bus rapid transit and railway means of transportation. And what we are seeing is that the working population, for instance, 60% of the working population in Nairobi, in Kampala, is not going to work forever if we don't improve the working facilities.
According to stakeholders, every city must have a good developing plan with the central government implementing its policies.
Today we have a very big challenge that every utility company that comes in, taking into communication companies, national water sewage corporation, electricity companies, and all of them, they go on uprooting and destroying whatever initiatives that other people have done. In Mukono, put a lot of emphasis on planting trees, and all of them are being now uprooted by National Water Sewage Corporation, or they are being uprooted by companies that are putting security lights.
The mayor of Entebbe, Vincent Kayanja, says Kampala should have a regional position for cycling as part of overcoming traffic jam challenges. He highlighted the purpose of interacting with other regional stakeholders.
When you reflect on the number of cars and the gases emitted by these cars, a critical question is asked: are there alternatives for a better and sustainable future and for a better environment? The answer is there are alternatives. And amongst the alternatives is making urban dwellers comfortable with walking.
Overcoming traffic jam in the city is one of the Vision 2040 objectives, and once strategies discussed are implemented, Uganda will be free from traffic jam. Sudat Kai, UBC.
Now, 7 suspects have been charged with 2 counts of kidnap and aggravated robbery before the Grade 1 Magistrate Court in Kanungu District. The accused persons include Dennis Charisima, Bugabo Yoweri, Joram Makankwasa, Hakim Tumwebaze, Adam Emaniruguha, and Matthias Kananura and Onesimus Vyarhanga, all residents of Kanungu District. The state alleges that the 7 have kidnapped over 6 people and robbed dozens of fish traders and other businessmen from 2017 till last month when they were arrested. The offences were allegedly committed mainly in Queen Elizabeth National Park in Kanungu, where they would lay an ambush to rob and kidnap. The state also found out that most of the suspects are hardcore criminals and had ever been convicted before, while others had skipped bond. They have been remanded to Mbarara government prisons till that's till the 22nd of May. And with that, we take a quick break. We return with more details.
Every dream has a challenging journey. Ours began in 1998. With a mission to drive the development of a robust communications sector in Uganda, we created structures to champion the dream. We've evolved, made discoveries, supported great minds, empowered Ugandans, and fostered a vibrant culture, enabling communication for all. Down the years, we've created memories and networks, uniting generations and building great partnerships. Together, we can go even further. UCC, celebrating 20 years of achievements.
The National Environment Management Authority, NEMA, invites the general public to review and scrutinize the Environmental and Social Impact Assessment Report for the proposed Kingfisher Development Project. The project involves the development of the Kingfisher oil field located in Chikube district and feeder pipeline transporting crude oil to the delivery point in Kabale in Hoima district. The major components of the project include oil production and water injection wells, central processing facility, flow lines, water obstruction station, feeder pipeline, and supporting infrastructure. Copies of the report are available at the following locations: written comments should be addressed to the Executive Director, National Environment Management Authority, Ginger Road, Kampala by 15th May 2019. NEMA, ensuring sustainable development.
Brought to you by Stack Online has made it possible. Log on to www.stackonlinetradeshow.com or download our app from Google Play Store or Apple Store. Seek, find, trade with Stack Online.
Welcome back. You're still watching News Tonight. State Minister for Agriculture, Christopher Chibazanga, says Uganda has the capacity to grow marijuana for medicinal purposes. However, a policy is needed to regulate the sector. Marijuana is listed among the top 10 high-value crops globally. However, its negative effects supersede its advantages when abused.
Let me tell you, I don't even know why they put a ban. Because these are high value crops that will bring returns.
Even though the growing of cannabis is still illegal, the State Minister for Agriculture is convinced that the country is ready for growing the high quality cannabis for medicinal purposes.
After the colonial government, it would have been disastrous if Uganda went into. Uganda would have turned it, and we didn't have capacity. You remember? When the Indian went, the economy collapsed. Now, suppose we had such a crops here, Uganda would have turned into Cambodia and Colombia. But now that we have the capacity, and these are high value crops which are needed in the medical health industry, which is a key for building human capacity, we must think twice. And we must focus there so that we invest there.
The history of medicinal cannabis goes back to ancient times. Most people were prescribed marijuana for medical purposes, use it to alleviate severe pain. Marijuana is listed among the high-value crops globally, and it's on this backdrop that Uganda looks set to lift the ban and change the law, pave way for the legal growing of cannabis.
The Minister of Health, the Minister of Agriculture, and of course Internal Affairs said wait until we sort out the legalities, because the production of those crops was made illegal by colonial governments, and that is the law as we talk. And therefore there is nowhere you can invest your money in illegality. Some of you will go to court and accuse government and also an investor, but we have told them, you wait, we are working on the policy and the law.
In Uganda, the consumption of drugs such as marijuana is linked to crime and immoralities. Therefore, this calls for capacity building and regulations before farmers can be supplied with seeds for commercial production of marijuana. Dennis Igoa for UBC News.
Now, despite the high competition among various smartphone brands in Uganda, companies are eager to invest more in the sector due to the favorable socio-economic and political factors in the economy. As smart mobile phone ownership rates steadily increase, some companies are proving to be ready for competition, as filed in the following report.
A 2018 report by NITA-U reports that 70.9% of Uganda's population own mobile phones. This is reflective of a 20.5% increase in mobile phone ownership since 2014, especially in rural areas, according to the same body.
It's good. It's really picking up. Like what Siva said this morning, like the newborn rate is really like more than 3% compared with the other East Africa countries. This is really good. It's really good figures. And then we can see the internet is picking up right now. So seems a good opportunity here.
Shiva Jom, Technomobility's brand manager, has applauded government of Uganda on its effort to provide a favorable investment climate despite the stiff competition from a myriad of smartphone brands.
You can see in the whole African continent, 54 countries. Maybe some country, some problem with the political issues, but most of the other countries, no problem. That is why we can have a stable trend going up, not only techno, but also the whole mobile phone market.
Due to the developing nature of Uganda's economy, phone companies are ready to share innovations that will solve the common man's problems, especially in alleviating poverty. This was revealed during the launch of their latest Spark 3 series that incorporates advanced artificial intelligence camera features.
With the developing of Uganda economy and the people, their budget is also increasing. So many competitors, they find Uganda is a good market, is a potential, it's a chance for them. So they come to this country. Now we are not comfortable because we always in this open market, and the competitor and all potential competitor would come to the market. We must get prepared.
The top mobile phone brands currently operating in Uganda include Tecno, Nokia, Samsung, iPhone, Itel, iDroid, and Infinix, among others. For UBC Business, Wadulo Makanold.
Brought to you by Stack Online has made it possible. Log on to www.stackonlinetradeshow.com or download our app from Google Play Store or Apple Store. Seek, find, trade with Stack Online.
Right now, on a sad note, 41 people died after a Russian plane made an emergency landing and burst into flames just after takeoff from Moscow's Sheremetyevo airport. Dramatic video shows passengers using emergency exit slides to escape the burning Aeroflot aircraft. Survivors suggest the plane was struck by lightning, but Russia's national carrier said that it returned to the airport for technical reasons. 2 children are among the dead. The jet had 73 passengers and crew of 5. Initial reports suggested the plane had landed on fire, but sources quoted by Russian news agency Interfax said the jet caught fire after a very bumpy landing. The aircraft landed with full fuel tanks because the crew lost contact with air traffic controllers and decided it was too dangerous to dump fuel over Moscow. Now, a flight attendant was also reportedly killed in the incident. 5 people are in hospital. One witness said it was a miracle anyone escaped. Russian Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev has ordered a special committee to investigate the disaster. Now, in Israel, there has been a lull in hostilities in the Gaza Strip after Palestinian militants said that a ceasefire with Israel had been agreed. It comes after a weekend during which Palestinian militants launched hundreds of rockets into Israel, prompting retaliatory air and artillery strikes. At least 4 Israelis and 23 Pakistanis were killed. Israel has not confirmed the truce, but its military has lifted emergency measures in place in southern Israel. The violence flared up on Friday during a protest against the blockade of Gaza. TV station run by Hamas, the militant movement which controls Gaza, announced that both sides had agreed the ceasefire beginning at 4:30 local time. Egypt is said to have brokered it, assisted by the United Nations and Qatar. Israel Defense Forces has not mentioned the truce. However, the military said it had lifted protective restrictions imposed on residents in southern Israel since the flare-up began, including schools, reopening. Early on Monday, the IDF said militants had fired 690 rockets into southern Israel during the past 48 hours, 240 of which had been intercepted by the country's Iron Dome missile defense system. In the world of sports, the National Fresh Diary Secondary School Games are in day 2 of competition in Mbale. 2,500 students are competing. 3 scholarships in Kenya and competition in the East African Games are at stake for the winners.
In a colorful grand opening event, 2,500 students gathered at Mbale Senior Secondary School for the Fresh Diary Secondary School Games. From the regional qualifiers, only the best competing schools in 6 competitive disciplines, including rugby, women football, table tennis, basketball, badminton and hockey, one could tell the level of competition exhibited.
The assessment is that I think because of the level of the requirement for qualification, most of the teams are prepared. There are results which we are getting which are not along the lines of our expectation. They are no longer obvious matches where teams are going in and it's a question of a margin, but now every team is a competitor, and that's one good thing about this place.
After the ceremony, it was time to differentiate between the boys and the men. Namagunga and Bwera Nyanje SS had a good start in the girls' hockey, defeating Gayaza High School and Nalia SS, respectively, while Namilianga and Tale boys started off well in the boys' category. In basketball, Bodo SS continued their dominance, defeating Seroma Christian School 50-19, while Crane High narrowly defeated Nyakasura 29-26. Table tennis was dominated by Kakunguru Memorial, defeating Jinja College on straight sets, while Seta High School defeated Busoga College Mwiri. Fresh Diary has invested 3 billion shillings into the games with the promise of 3 scholarships to the best students in rugby and basketball.
Well, Fresh Diary believes in nurturing talent and a full individual. So we are looking at sporting, we are looking at nutrition, and we are looking at academics. So if you look at all the 3, we are going to achieve all the 3 in this week. One is we'll be giving the kids some of our products to nurture and to give, to bring back the energy that they've used. We are also asking these children that just apart from sports, you need to also excel academically, and that's where the scholarship is also coming in.
The best performing school from each sports discipline will represent Uganda at the East African School Games in Arusha later this year. Ngabo Emon reporting for UBC TV in Mbale.
Uganda's national woodball team has officially entered residential training ahead of the 2nd Beach Woodball World Cup that Uganda hosts from the 25th to the 30th of May this year. Lucky for the team, the day it entered camp was also the 2nd corporate beach woodball circuit at Spena Beach in Entebbe.
Spena Beach in Entebbe has played host to the 2nd woodball circuit. It was a collection of the country's best, including national team players, that are preparing for the Beach Woodball World Cup that comes in Uganda from the 25th of May.
Today is our day of reporting for residential training, and it's the very same day that we've had the 2nd beach circuit. This beach circuit has really helped us. It has worked as
In the doubles, Lilian Zawedi and Sophie Namudu bettered all ladies, while Maria Nansereko edged the corporate category. In the corporate doubles category, Maria Nansereko and Ruth Nakazi were the best women, with Mark Kanyesiji and Deo Masimbi the best men, while Denise Nanjeru edged all in the women's senior category.
The team is very ready, and all the thanks go to the Uganda Football Federation and the government for all the encouragement and the money they've given us to go for residential, and I assure you, the 2 weeks we are going to stay in the camp for residential will help us to win the tournament.
Others that excelled at this outing include Charles Sensalo, Albert Mugisha and Brian Gwaka. In the newly introduced juniors category, Simon Otim of Luzira SS beat the boys, while Rashida Nantese of Mpoma Girls was the best girl. John Barnes, Centum, reporting.
And with that, let's take a look at our top stories for the night. African anti-graft heads meet in Kampala. Analysts disagree with opinion pollsters. The holy month of Ramadan begins. While Minister Chibazanga on the spot on marijuana growing. And on the international scene, Moscow plane crash lands, killing 41.